Hello, everyone. Today is day 15 of the 30-day live challenge that we have. My name is Sanjeev, and I welcome you all on this live where today the topic is teaching respect without fear, raising emotionally safe kids who still honor boundaries. So let's head straight into it. All right. Because if they obey you out of fear, we know that it is not respect, right? It's survival. So let's cut through this noise and then head straight to the topic. You don't need to scare your children or child to get them to listen to you, right? But so many of us were raised with the belief that if they're not afraid, they won't respect you. And that boundaries must come with punishment, that discipline means control. But here's the truth, right? Fear can force compliance, but only love can grow character. Now, the choice is upon you whether you want to have a compliant kid or you want to have a kid who is loving, caring, and has a very solid foundation with a very good character. That's your choice. Who are you raising? And if your child respects you only because they fear you, then you've lost the very heart of what real respect means, right? Honestly, then you've lost it. So let's reset this whole story, right? So let's do that. Let's talk about how to raise kids who feel safe, who feel understood, and still deeply respect the people and the space around them, right? Let's talk about it. Because what happens when respect is confused with fear? What happens then? Children who are taught to fear authority may follow rules, right? But they often lose their voice in the process. And it's a very common phenomenon. Very common. They become people pleasers or they rebel in silence. And then they grow up feeling unseen, unheard, or unworthy, right? They lack their self respect. They're not able to stand up uh, for their own good or for their own beliefs, for their own self. And what's worse is that they carry this energy into their future relationships as well, right? The partners who intimidate them, right? Jobs where they're not able to speak up, right? Boundaries they're too afraid to enforce. And that's the cost of fear-based parenting. And we don't want to pay it anymore, right? We may have been in that situation maybe when we were growing up, but we've come too far from that background. So I think that you would agree that we don't want to pay this price anymore. We want to grow with them and help them grow into a far more pleasing and far more loving personalities. And the the pressure is not going to do it, right? So let's do the grounding ritual before we start, and we'll call it "Let Go of the Old Story." Right? That's the intent. Whatever past we have been raised in, we will let go of that, and we'll start a new beginning for our next generation. All right. So let's take a deep breath now. Hold and exhale. Put your hand on your heart and take a new deep breath. Hold, exhale. And now whisper to yourself, I can teach respect without creating fear. I can teach respect without creating fear. Again, my child's safety matters more than my control. My child's safety matters more than my control. And let your nervous system feel it. Feel it into every fiber of your body, every fiber of your being. Let it settle in your body. And let this become your new parenting anchor. Take a deep breath again and let it out. Once again, and let it out. So we realize that the respect that's rooted in safety, it lasts the lifetime, right? Real respect is not about raising kids who say yes out of fear, right? It's about raising kids who say yes because they trust you, they love you, they trust your leadership, they trust the kind of personality you are to them and around them, right? That's what causes the safety, the feeling of safety in them. And that's the reason why we want them to say yes, and not because they fear us. Because it's all about consistency without cruelty, right? I know I'm using the hard word here, cruelty, but that's essentially what it is. It's consistency without cruelty, boundaries without belittling, right? Power that protects and not punishes. I mean, of course you're powerful, right? They're kids. In what way are you not powerful to them, right? But if you're powerful and you use your power, that's not powerful. Powerful is when you know that you have power and then you still have control over it. That's powerful. Anybody can use power, right? So if you have power, that power must protect. It must not punish, right? When kids feel emotionally safe, they want to follow you, right? They feel connected to you, and that's the connection that makes the correction easier, right? If at all it's needed, it's the connection that will always help you make the headway in the correction process, always. So let's take a look at some of the insights that we can gain from this discussion, right? So the first one is that emotional safety is the foundation of true discipline. I mean, my wife talks about discipline all the time. And I say that emotional safety is the foundation of true discipline. A child who feels safe will tell you the truth, right? But a child who feels judged will always hide it. They do not feel safe sharing what they're going through with you, right? If that is the situation, then imagine them growing up with all sort of issues in their heart and mind, and never having somebody to talk to or share with. And when that happens, they grow up to be a person who does not even stand up for their own self, right? They have issues, psychological, emotional, right, issues, social issues, and they are bottled up. They have bottled up emotions. They do not know how to share, because they never felt safe around people, parents to begin with. So that's not what you want. You don't need to break your child's spirit to guide them, okay? You need to understand their spirit and then lead it with love. That's the kind of attitude that we as parents must adopt, right? Because the respect that's rooted in fear, it just fades away when they grow up, right? It does. And look around and you'll find hundreds of examples of this. I mean, every example. But the child, the respect rooted in love, right, that stays for life. So the child who has had that kind of a environment around them that was loving, caring, right, that kind of respect stays for life. So you have to choose what direction you want to follow when you are interacting with your kid, right? The insight too that we can gain from this is that modeling is more powerful than mandating, right? You can lecture your kid all day about respect, right? You can lecture them about anything related to respect, or you can live it, right? So do you disturb or interrupt when they speak, right? Do you say please and thank you when asking for their help? Do you apologize when you're wrong, right? They notice it all of it. Because, and here's the thing, that respect is caught. It's not taught, right? It's not just taught, it is caught. So they catch you interacting with them. They catch you how you are doing or living your life. They learn by example, and you are the first role model that they have in their life. They always learn from you first than by anybody else, right? So think about that. The third insight can be that calm boundaries create respectful response. Calm boundaries create respectful response. Because yelling gets reactions, right? But calm gets results. You can yell and get the things done. They will do it, but they will fight against it. Nobody likes it. It's a soul that does not like that attitude, yelling, and therefore yelling creates reactions in the family. No matter in what relationship you are, that is what you're going to experience. But on the other hand, the calm nature gets the results. They get things done, either by themselves or even by cooperation. The cooperation level is high in that attitude of calm. If you adopt that same attitude with your kids, you will get results no matter what you intend to do, right? So calm boundaries always create respectful responses. When you enforce a boundary with steadiness, right? Not shaming, with steadiness, you teach your kid, your child, that limits don't have to come with emotional explosion. right? They don't have to come with the explosion, emotional explosion. So try this. I won't let you hit. That's not safe, right? You can we can talk again when you're ready to be respectful. No drama, no direction, right? Just clear process of how to get things done respectfully. And the other thing is that fear fear destroys curiosity, and respect invites it. We know that fear shuts down a child's natural wonder, right? It does. They stop asking questions, they stop expressing themselves, they they just go quiet, right? They just do not want to deal with the hassle of making you understand what they're going through when you are not in that frame of mind of acceptance anyways, right? If they fear you, they're not going to open up. But on the other hand, respect says, it says, I see you. You can ask me anything, right? Let's talk about what's behind that behavior, why it is that behavior is coming up. Let's talk about it, right? You're not punishing them for how they behaved. You want them to understand why they behaved the way they behaved. Because when they do understand that part, they will be able to solve much of their own problems when they're growing up or when they're grown, right? They understand what's going on with them because they have had a very positive experience with you by their side, helping them learn from that behavior, right? That's where the real growth happens. That's where the real growth begins, actually. So I'm sharing this with you because this is what I do with my kids. This is how I talk to them. If I have had a problem, if I have not lived up to my standards of engagement with them, I do apologize. In fact, in our last trip, you know that we were in two national parks, Zion and Bryce, and before that we were in Shasta, Mount Shasta, about 2 weeks prior to that, or 3 weeks probably. And it so happened that Pranav left the camera somewhere and then forgot it. The camera had all the pictures of that trip, and it was nowhere to be found. And I lost it. I lost my temper because I was passionate about, memories. And here we are with the lost camera and all memories lost. I mean, they're still here, but in the camera where we could have seen it, it was lost. And I got angry. But Meenu, on the other hand, my wife, she kept her calm. She was positive, and she was handling it much better than I was. And what happened was that I was infuriated. I was not talking well or respectfully. And then they went out to find it, to see if they can find it in the room, the hotel room where we were staying. And it so happened that as they went out of the car, I found the camera right underneath the back seat where Pranav was sitting. And everything was fine. But then I realized that, was my reaction necessary? Was it supposed to be the way I reacted? It was not a response, it was a reaction. Was it necessary at all? And how easily Ming was able to handle it. I could not I could not bear the fact that I treated my kids the way I did. And and I started the car. We drove for a little bit, but I could not move any further. So we we took the exit. I stopped the car and I apologized to my kids. And I said, I'm sorry. I could have done better. And I could have stopped myself from reacting the way I did. And then Pranav had tears in his eyes because he knew that what was going on was something that he was emotionally moved with. He was not angry. He was not upset. But he felt emotionally touched by me doing what I did. And then he hugged me and he said, that's okay. And we drove. So when I make these statements, and when I'm sharing this with you, I'm sharing what I go through with my kids almost on a daily basis. I engage with them in conversations like this about life, about energy, about philosophy. They're 12-year and 15-year kids, but they understand life much better than the adults out there in the world. Why? Because I interact with them this way. We have an environment in our home that is helping them grow with that mindset of connection, of love, of bond, of care, right? So that's what happens when you give your kids the environment that allows them to grow in this way, right? They feel emotionally connected. They honor, right, the boundaries if there are any in the family, right? So that's why I chose this topic today, because it really felt deep for me, and I said that I should be sharing it with you. Anyway, so let's I get emotional sometimes, so I apologize. No, I don't apologize for being emotional. So let's move to soul questions, right? So the question number 1 that I would have you think about today is, what version of respect were you raised with, right? Was it rooted in fear, or was it rooted in understanding, right? What version of respect were you raised in? Because this will help you recognize what you have normalized in you, right? And what needs rewriting. And obviously, if there is anything that needs rewriting, it obviously has to begin with you. You have to work on it. You cannot expect your kid to work on it for you, right? The way you are going to interact with them is the way they are going to learn and respond back. So if there's anything that needs to be rewritten in the way you interact with them, you have to take that call and then work on it. So try to figure out, what version of respect were you raised with? What, right? Was it fear? Was it understanding? And obviously then you can go from there. Question 2, what does your child need to feel emotionally safe with you, right? What does your child need to feel emotionally safe with you? Now this opens the doorway to true intimacy and trust, right? Trust. That's most important. How would you speak? That's the third question. How would you speak to your child if you trusted their inner goodness completely? Right? How would you speak to your child if you trusted their inner goodness completely? And this unlocks the compassion led parenting um, in the family, right? A lot of times I've seen in my circle and outside also, that when I talk to the parents, I see sometimes that parents say, I don't trust my kid. I mean, they're fearful of giving them some things because they don't trust. They're fearful of letting their kids engage in certain tasks or activities because they don't trust. If you don't trust them, how do you expect them to trust you? As simple as this, right? And trust is not just a word, it's an energy, right? When you trust, there is an energy makeup that you're transmitting from your energy circle, from your body, from your subconscious and conscious. And when that goes outside of you, it does interact with the same level in the opposite person. So if you don't trust somebody, that's the focus of your energy, and therefore it is going to interact with the untrustworthy person or the vibration of that person. And those are the two vibrations that are talking. And when those two vibrations are talking, that means they are in focus. What do you expect to grow? No trust are talking to each other, and therefore no trust is growing. Trust talk to each other, and therefore trust grows, right? So we talked about it the other day also, that the world is a mirror, right? It's a mirror reflection. What you put out is what you get back. You put out trust, you get back trust. So how do you speak to your child if you fully trusted, right, them and their goodness, the inner goodness completely, right? So now we'll move on to the practice, the daily practice that we do. We'll call it a micro transformation practice, and we'll call that the respect reset ritual. We'll call it respect reset ritual. So tonight, I want you to sit down with your child, or imagine them in your heart, right? And you tell them, I want to be a parent who leads with love, right? I want us to have a relationship based on trust, not fear. And then ask them, what helps you feel safe when we talk about hard things or tough things, right? What helps you feel safe? And then tell them, what is it that you are expecting to do? You want to be a good parent, right? You want them to feel safe. They will talk to you about it. Now, I know a lot of parents who have not talked to their kids like that, who still their kid is a kid, and it'll feel awkward for them to talk to their kids like that. Go ahead and feel awkward anyways, but talk to them anyways, right? It does not matter how awkward you feel if that allows your child to feel safe in this interaction. At least you learned today what your child needs from you, right? So talk to your kid, talk to your child. They will also realize that you trust them and you treat them as equal, Of course, they are your kid, but they will feel good that you're talking to them in this manner, and then you're not, treating them as child all the time. They will see the responsible you, they will learn from that responsible you, and they will become the responsible them, right? Project it, live it, and they will learn. They will always learn from you, right? So we'll leave it here at this point, and we'll call it a day. But tomorrow's topic is going to be when discipline breaks connection, what to do instead, right? When discipline breaks connection, what to do instead. Because sometimes we get caught up in being right, we forget to stay close, right? We're so caught up in being right all the time that being close becomes secondary, right? We talk all about how, in tomorrow's conversation, in fact, we'll talk about how to repair, reconnect, and rebuild when things go sideways. And because the thing is that when you know how to do that repair, reconnect, and rebuild process, and you are engaging your family in it in a positive way, of course, again, your kids are learning your way of handling things. And when they see you handling things effectively and efficiently, they learn from it. They grow up to be the person who knows how to handle, tough things, how to rebuild connection, how to repair connection, right? How to bond. They know. A lot of times you must have seen when people part, they just part. They never know how to rebuild. They never know how to reconnect. Once gone is gone. Well, it can come back, but nobody taught them how to proceed in that order, how to engage the conversation again once things have gone bad. Nobody taught them. Well, you do, right? You do that. You teach them how to reconnect. You teach them how to rebuild relationships if there are any issues in it. And that's how they learn. That's how they grow. That's how they become the person who does not care where things go, because they know in the heart of their heart that they will be able to steer it in the direction where things are going to be aligned properly and appropriately. That's the kind of future you want for them. An ability to be able to handle anything in their life, right? So that's the whole point why I'm having this conversation today, and that's the whole point why I want this conversation to continue tomorrow as well in the topic that we'll follow. All right, so that's it for today. Like I said, I always say, if you love this live, or if you like this live, like it, right? Drop your biggest aha moment, or the way you are resetting your parenting today, right? Just share how you feel, what your parenting style is, what you feel is a parent should do or should not do. Share your own thoughts, right? That's how we will grow with each other. Because if you just continue taking from other people's opinion, and you never share yours, how will you become a participant in the growth of the community in and around you, right? It's always a give and take. So don't just be one kind of a person. Share also. Share your side, your story as well, right? I encourage you. I'm not forcing you, and don't feel the guilt that you're not doing it. Don't feel that. It's okay to not share, but it will feel better if you do. And that's why I'm encouraging you to do it, right? And forget about what people will say by reading your comment. Nobody cares about that. You should never care about what people will say, right? You are here to live your life. You're not here to live what other people will say. So share, right, as always, and share this with another parent who is questioning their old methods, right? Share it with them. Join the Healing Siblings Bond community on Facebook and the website also, as listed here um, in the video as well. And remember the one word that is a magic word for us, and that is hope. HOPE stands for help one person every day. Help one person every day. So let that one person today be your child, okay? And let it begin with safety and not fear. And and let them have the courage to express themselves in a loving and caring way, right? And that's the reason why we have this topic today, teaching respect without fear, right? Raising emotionally safe kids who still honor boundaries, right? So you can engage in whatever way you want with your kids, when they feel safe and happy and cared for and encouraged around you, they will always come back to you with open arms, no matter where life takes you. All right. So I leave it today at this. Have fun. Have a good night, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Let us know where you're chiming from and whether you were online today live or were you able to catch this as a replay. All right. See you tomorrow then. Bye. Namaste.